All right, hey game devs, let's get on with the stairs here. I need to unhide the pedestal because that's what we're going to look at next. So I'm going to open up the pedestal and put it right there. And basically that block is just to show us a scale thing. If we come back and look at this, we can see that it goes up to, we're guessing here, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4, I'd say 5. Let's just keep it an even 5 steps up. So if we come back and put it here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So a little bit higher. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A little bit higher than I had it, but not too bad. The other thing we need to look at is, okay, if it's that tall, how wide is the widest part? Okay, so if we come back to the picture, I'm going to say that the width it is right now is the width of the main base. So that means everything else comes off of that point. What we're going to do is pull it up, pull it in, pull it up, pull it in, do some, we'll do some cutouts in here, and we'll come out here and shift it out, and then we'll see how it does a diagonal, or we could even do a curve on it. Then we'll pull it back in, and then we'll pull it back up, and then we're going to give it a lip here, even though it looks like it's kind of fading off. And then we'll go to there. So what I'm gonna do is take this whole object and dupe it over to the side. I just want to keep something to keep my reference points, because if that is going to be the total height, then I need to make sure that when I do my scaling at this point, or I do any of the edge stuff, I want to make sure that it is that the final height is set up. So if I go back to front, I'm gonna look at this one more time. I would say this is a third, this is a quarter, and that's what's left. So a third and a quarter. Why do I have to make my life miserable? Let's say this is 1/2, which looks kind of, yeah, I guess it can be 1/2. The base may be a little bit taller, or the top may be a little bit taller. So we'll call it 1/2. 1/2 of the thing from the center point, unfortunately, is going to be this width, and the rest of stuff's going to go bigger than that, just to go our stairs or something more exciting. Oh, and you know what I just noticed on our stairs real quick? I didn't really give it a bat border. This part should really be a lot thicker. Let me pull this out like that far. That looks much better. Okay, so back to this. I probably could even do more, but we'll figure that out. So this is the final height. I can move it out of the way. I can even do Alt X, so it's just over there for a reference, and we'll delete it later. But what I'm going to do is go back to the front and do, how is the easiest way to figure out half of the thing, or 3/4 of the thing, or even breaking it into quarters, right? So if I grab all this side right here, all the side edges, and I don't use Swift, come on, jeez. Grab the sides right here, and I right click and I say connect. Yes, I do like Swift Loop, but connect sometimes it works well. This will give me, actually, this will be a third, a third, and a third. This will be 2/4 and a quarter apiece. So that's pretty good. That's a pretty good thing. And what I'll do, since I don't think it's quite 2/4, is I'll move these all down just a little bit. So this is 2/4, this is a little over 2/4, and this is a little under a quarter. Because that's what it kind of feels like to me. Okay, so we know this is the width. Now we know that the stuff above this goes higher, right? So a couple things we could do. We have our reference point, so we're just gonna really, I could delete that face, or if you didn't want to have a reference, you could delete this right here. Well, not that, because I have the angle on, sorry. You could delete this right here and leave that face for later. It's only a measurement stick for how high it goes. And then you could delete these, but this doesn't have a bottom, so if you're going to use that theory, that way of doing it, you just want to grab the whole thing with the loop and cap it. Then go back to front and go 4 and delete this right here. So now I have a bottom and a top, really simple. And actually, I guess that's much easier to work with. I just was thinking about it as I was going, as I do most of the stuff. Okay, so let me do one more thing. I'm going to move the center of the object to here. And every time I do that, even if it's not rotated, I like to reset X form just because that blocks out any of the other crap that may have come into place. If I want, I could even take this plane and figure out how far out it should go for the top cap. I could say, let me see, I want it kind of to be, let's see, front. I think it should be a little bit wider than that. Yeah, probably. And we'll take this one and we'll do it the other way. Just a little bit thinner. There. So now I know the width and the height. I can separate these out if I want and just make them transparent so they're easier to look through, and that's probably the easiest way to do it. So I'll just say guide. Again, these are all assuming that we don't have reference that's actually calculated out, and sometimes this happens. And as long as you're paying attention to scale to each other, you should be fine. Since I started with this with great scale, then we're fine. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to say, I'm going to take the top edge here, which is that one, and I'm going to do my favorite stuff to do, right? Front, scale it out, and that way it scales it. Okay, you're a jerk. Let me see if I've got my scale on the right scale. I do. Scale it out, goes in 360. I don't want it that height because I don't want it, I probably want it a little bit less than that. Something like that. And then it goes shift, drag up, and I'm gonna say something like that. And I could put it in a plane in the background for sure, but again, these are diagonal shots. These aren't actual references. So at another time, I might take the time to do that kind of stuff, but as I have to get through all these videos for you guys, I'm going to do this the fast way. Plus, you know, you need to be able to kind of eyeball, and you've made the measurements perfect the first time, so all you're doing is adding what you have. And honestly, this is our art at this point. We'll always put a shout out to this guy if he ever goes anywhere. Obviously, if you post it or anything, you want to make sure you shout out to the concept artist. But for our purposes, this is we can, what I'm saying by our art is we can change it as we need. And I'm pulling that piece in there. Actually, I think that's a little bit too out. I just want a small bevel, and this is where that ZBrush stuff and other stuff come into play a little bit better for this kind of stuff. But we're gonna pull this up a little bit and maybe even out. We'll give it a little bit of a diagonal in here too, so they all seem to be going in that flow, just the slightest bit though. And then I'm going to pull it back out. Oops. I need to scale it back out a little bit. And it looks like I did it in two directions again. Okay. And then I'm going to pull this up almost to the top and scale it out so it's almost even with it. Then I'm going to pull it, I'm going to scale it one more time out just to give it another little lip. All these little lips and intricacies don't seem like they're a big deal right now, but they'll add up, especially if we start doing this for normals and stuff. We need to have these kind of subdivisions, and if we don't, we need to be able to use as much geometry as we can without killing the frame rate, which at this point isn't that much. All right, and then we pull this up. Front. I'm going to pull it out a little bit more again, just to kind of line up. And then this last little bit, I'm going to go straight. There we go. Now the bottom. Grab that face, scale. I'm going to push it out a little bit. Put it down. Maybe out a little too. I mean, again, this is a guy's drawing, so there's going to be some lines that look like they're diagonal that may not be diagonal, but we're going to say they are. And then I'm going to go down. Actually, I'm going to go down to there, and this is where I'm going to do an extrude in for the edge there, and then I'm going to come down a little bit more. You know what? Yeah, I'm going to come down a little bit more. I'm just looking at the picture, by the way. Just looking at this area in here. How do I think this is working out with his quick drawing stuff? Okay. Don't be a jerk, Photoshop. Okay, so let me pull this back up. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that edge again, and I'm going to scale it out a little bit more than before. And I could type it in if it's better for me. I could, you know, right click and type in, but it's a little bit more difficult, but we can do it. I'm going to pull it down to about right there, go back to the front, maybe. Yeah. Don't forget, you can always edit this stuff after the fact. I want to kind of keep it out to about that point, so it's even with the ground, or even with the widest point at the base, and we'll pull it down. And there we go. And it looks a little short to me. So interestingly, this may be too wide. So we could take the front view, go to verts, scale, make sure it's on 1. Scale it in a little bit. That's a little bit better. I still think this feels too tall. So I'll go back to front. I mean, this doesn't feel tall enough, this part. So I'm going to pull this back up, and maybe that was the mistake, is doing that. And it may be that the whole thing is too thin or fat. So, I'm just going to do that. And pay attention, let me see. Down here at the bottom, I'm going to move it in point. Let me see. Okay, so I know I want it -5, so if I want to use the type in, I can click in here and say -5, like that. And that still feels short. Let's try -5 again. There, that feels better. So it was -10 total, so now I have to come to this side. Left or VR. Okay. I'm gonna grab this one, and it should be going not on the view, on the world. It should be, because I believe I built it correctly. It should go off the Y, so let's see. Yeah, okay. So if we want to keep it even, we just say -10 again, and now we have our pedestal even all the way around. And we can get rid of this, oops, this piece here. We don't need those anymore, and now we have our pedestals. And then we can go to 3, grab this space here, go to 3, go this, say cap, which I know there's a shortcut for. And we'll go back to front, and we'll move this over. Oops, not just that, the whole thing actually. Move the whole thing over, so it's kind of back, but enough ahead that if you look at it from a different angle, it's back but forward. I mean, the problem with the concept is always, how do you here's my problem. Let me show you. This one looks like it's behind it. This one looks like it's in front of it. So either these are really far out and somehow we're getting that kind of perspective, or there's something else going on. So I'm just going to fake it and say it's like that far out. I'm not going to say they're touching, even though kind of, actually, you know what? It looks like they're touching right here, because there's not touching, but there's a shadow cast from the stairs on this object, which, you know, is just a brush stroke for a conceptor, so it's not made to be for specific reasons. So it's up to us how we want to do it. I'm going to move it closer because I like them better. Like, the further away they feel, the less they feel like they're part of the same thing. So all we have to do at this point is, well, let me just go back into the materials and add the blue to it so they're all the same color. And then I'm going to say grab this and say back down here, attach, bam. Now I've got both those things done. And now we've got our more defined stairs. And again, we have this stuff in here and we'll take a look at that next.